Hey, sorry. Just curious, last time you guys were in this ballpark facing this team, things didn't go particularly well for you.
Right.
How are you just approaching this in light of that?
The same way that we always do. On a granular focus, get done what we need to get done, do it our way, and focus on all the things that we've talked about all season long that have worked for us. So, yeah, I know we were in a little bit of a grind last time we were here, but we're a totally different team right now. We're in the big dance. We've advanced through the wild card round. I think this team feels very good about where they're at.
Nick, in the middle.
Do you have an update on Gabby for us?
I do, just a little one. He has not entered the concussion protocol. He has been tested and monitored over the past couple days and continues to improve and show no symptoms whatsoever. So if something changes in the next, whatever, it would be 18 hours, we would make a change, but tomorrow will be our starting catcher as of right now.
And then, I forgot to ask this the other night, but we noticed as you were coming off the field from that long delay when he got walked.
Yeah.
Were you upset with the fans, or what was going on there?
A little bit. I only know the Milwaukee Brewer fans being unbelievable fans, supportive, energized, but in my opinion, they didn't have a great fan moment. You know, one of your players is basically laying down on the field. You're trying to assess him. There's no re-entry rule in baseball. We're trying to make sure that the athlete who wants to stay in the game is acting properly, saying the right things. There's certain test questions that the trainer needs to ask him, and you can't rush that process. And when a player is down on the field, it doesn't matter what team you're on, we're one. And it could be their player, and we're one. And I think the fans may have lost a little bit of that perspective.
Steve and then Sam.
Torey, just how big has Merrill been for you the last 3 or 4 years? It just feels like you're able to count on him every fifth day.
Yeah, he's a model of consistency. He continues to go out there and grow and learn every start. When he came to us, he was a 29 or 30-year-old rookie and has just been on an information search ever since. Has pitched in some huge baseball games for us. Has delivered and made pitches and has been able to slow the game down in this stretch drive. We asked a lot of him and Zach, and he won a lot of very, very important ball games. So I know it's well documented. He was the starter in the final game of the WBC. He's just got a really good heartbeat. He doesn't get glossy-eyed, and he can go out and execute a game plan.
Torey, besides the results, what's the what are the what's the difference with Ryan Thompson from where he was with the Rays to what he's kind of doing with you guys, and is there anything you guys worked on with him to kind of get read?
I just think he's gained confidence from the first outing that he had with us. You know, I've asked him some pointed questions, and he's very complimentary of where he was with the Rays, and maybe just became the outsider looking in, and he might have felt that. And when they went in a different direction, we were able to grab him, and he's been a savior for us in that 6th, 7th inning. He pounds his zone, a lot of swing and miss with certain pitches, a lot of contact, early weak contact, balls on the ground, and we just pitch him accordingly based on certain parts of the lineup that we feel like it's going to yield a very positive result. But he's been an unbelievable teammate. Those are the things that I know. The adjustments, I don't think there have been a ton of adjustments, because I know really the first day that he got there, he's basically pitching in the game, and he was lights out, and we've been leaning on him ever since.
Mike.
Hey, Torey, with 3 off days here, you'll be able to start Merrill and Zach 4 of those games on regular rest. Does that work to your advantage, and what do you think of the way this whole format with the off days, especially between 1 and 2?
I've been a part of playoff baseball before, and I know that there are unusual off days. This one might be a little bit different. Maybe the wild card round ending a little bit differently after 2 days throughout Major League Baseball. But I think they do a really good job of reading, reacting, adjusting the schedules. I know they've got to deal with college football and pro football on Sundays. So whatever they do, we stand by, and we feel like this puts us in a really good position because 1A and 1B are going to be able to potentially start 4 of these 5 games.
JP, second round.
And Torey, looking back at the regular season series between you guys and the Dodgers, you met early in the season and it seemed like you were stealing bases almost at will. Flash forward to August, a little different story. How much of that early season success on the bases was the element of surprise? And how much difference was there in terms of that going away or something the Dodgers were doing? How do you explain that difference?
I don't think you ever catch the LA Dodgers by surprise with anything. They're a very well prepared team. They're well run, and I just think they didn't understand necessarily what type of game we were going to play. And once they saw that, they read it and reacted to it. And you know, it's a copycat league. You gotta keep evolving with what you're doing so you don't get stuck on something or run into outs. And I think the league caught up to us and it took a little adjustment for us. There was a little adjustment period of time. But we believe in our running game. We've got targets, and we know the guys can successfully do it, and who they can do it against. And those are the things that we're reviewing right now.
AJ, standing up on the right.
Torey, what's been the driving force behind this bullpen's kind of transformation into what it is now as a strength and all the big outs that kind of got in the wall?
It's certainly an area of strength that at the time when we got Paul Sewald, Andrew Salfrank, Ryan Thompson, it was trending in a very neutral direction. So I think the addition of those 3 guys and the emergence of Kevin Ginkel has allowed me to kind of put them in different roles and slot them in. And I think the first step was getting Paul Sewald and allowing everybody to slide back. We tried to have a revolving door, a matchup type of a closer as the Rays do, but I think that was a little bit challenging for some of our younger guys, and it became a little bit too much for them. So Sewald getting there, pushing everybody back into a role helped, and then getting some new guys such as Salfrank and Thompson who've got huge outs for us is definitely pushes us in the right direction.
Nick.
Torey, we ask you a lot of questions when decisions don't go right, but I'm curious for your evaluation of yourself for those first 2 games when a lot of things seem to work out.
You know, I make the same type of decisions with the same type of input and the same strategy every single time. And that's the beauty of the game, right? You may say what you're saying, but I can guarantee you I would have done the same thing in 2021. It just worked a little bit different in 2023. We were in a playoff series, and it was magnified, losing 110 games. And as Sparky Anderson once told me, that has to be the most unfair treatment of a manager that didn't get done overnight, right? So that's just what happens in my position. I get that. Of course, I'll absorb the good moments this team shares and has, and I will take no credit, but take all the blame. The players went out there and did the job and executed. I had about 4 or 5 plans during that game, and that's the beauty of the game. It's like a chess match, right? The game can explode over on this side of the table, and then you got to figure out what's going on this side of the table. So there was definitely, that was probably option 4 or 5, but we were prepared for it because I talked to the staff and we knew what we were going to do and asked of our athletes.
How empowering do you feel like it is as a manager?
Sorry guys, gotta give him a hug. You raised me. Congrats.
Thanks, man. I'll see you. Yeah, good luck, but not really. I love you no matter what. That's what makes you feel good, right? When you're a teacher and kind of a mentor, you have a young athlete, you know what he's like in the minor leagues, he gets to you at the big league level, and you have hours and hours of conversations about what it will be like when you get to that level of greatness. And for me, I watch him perform, and there's nothing better. I just wish he wasn't in the NLDS, but I mean, that's a beautiful game.
I was going to ask, how empowering is it as a manager when you have the options that you have in the bullpen these days?
Yeah, it feels really good. It's there's probably tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 of guys that I can go to that are going to go and collect big outs, and it gives me a lot of versatility. And I like options. I like to have that versatility. I think in playoff baseball, this is what I've learned. I'm still a young manager when it comes to playoff baseball experience, but through a lot of the conversations that I've had over the years with managers that have been in this arena, and watching games, and I try to tell you guys this, it's stopping momentum. That's why Ryan Thompson came in the game in the 5th inning. He hasn't pitched in the 5th inning for us since he's gotten here, but I just felt like stopping momentum and being able to insert somebody else behind him and Kevin Ginkel that was going to get us to Paul Sewald. I mean, those were some options, but I had option 2 or 3 in back of that. So it feels really good. When you talk about feeling empowered, I think that's a very powerful statement, but it's real, and it's part of what makes your team good when you have a lot of options that aren't just throwaway options. They're legitimate options that will help you win a game.
Obviously, this team in this ballpark in particular, having been the friendliest you guys and Merrill especially, is that something you've addressed with your guys ahead of the series, and kind of how have you talked about that with them?
No, I haven't. I don't need to. They know we're in a very competitive environment right now. It's the Elite Eight, right? You got 8 teams standing up, and we're 0-0 with the LA Dodgers, and we know that it's a very tough venue. Their fans are loud, they're engaged, their players are outstanding. We got to do certain things very, very well to get by and keep pushing forward and hopefully win baseball games. But we know what they are. It's just a matter of going out and executing. So talking to Merrill, I don't need to. Merrill's too good, too smart, too heady, and ready to make some quality adjustments. And they're not wholesale adjustments. When he's pitching well, he's hitting lines. He can work the entire box and hit that line and on any side, at any level. So we need to get him locked in, which I'm sure he's working on right now, and he'll be fine.
Standing up in the back.
What kind of presence does Ketel Marte bring to the lineup, and just what does he mean to the offense as a whole?
Yeah, there's definitely a swagger that he plays with, a cockiness, a very humble cockiness. It's not outward. He doesn't show anybody up, but there's just a very strong, positive presence that he walks around with, no matter where he is. You can see him at the hotel. You see him on the bases. You see him in the clubhouse. It's just who he is, and I like that. Otherwise, I'm pretty boring and vanilla. So we need to spice it up a little bit with some of his presence. I'm all for it. So the fact that he also happens to be a really good baseball player and get big knocks for us and make good plays on defense, it's been a pleasure for me to watch him. He's had some very lean years because of his health. He's been healthy the majority of this year, and I've asked him to go out there, and he hasn't been 100%. And these guys never do it. Like, he never showed up in a way that he wasn't giving you everything that he had. And to me, that's the ultimate type of competitor that he is, because he's going to give you all that he has on that given day.
Sam?
I'm curious, after the 21 season, you hired Jeff Banister, and why did you hire him, and then what has he kind of brought to this team in 2 years since?
Yeah, I'm so glad you gave me an opportunity to talk about him. You're in a good spot with your first lieutenant when your first lieutenant does your job better than you do. That's the feeling I have. He lets me take my eyes off of pregame. He runs the pregame infield ground balls. I can take care of other meetings that I need to have, one-on-one conversations with players in my office. He oversees the scheduling of the whole day. So pregame, hands off, eyes off, and on top of that, he's probably putting out 7 to 10 small little fires for me that never quite reach my desk. In-game decision making, I have a former manager sitting next to me that's walked every walk, and he can slow the game down and talk baseball with me, and I need that. And he can project, he can get 2 or 3 innings ahead of me. He's doing all the dirty work behind the scenes while I can keep my eye on the game, having conversations about readiness for players, and that's in-game decisions. And then, the work that he's doing to make sure that there is a line of accountability inside of our coaching staff, and that every player has, because that's a huge word in every culture, in every successful culture, there's nobody better. He fills in my gaps. I tend to be a little bit boring. I've been trying to widen my scope and open up my perspective, but I'm kind of like the guy that just pays attention to that pile of dirt in front of him. I need to figure out what's going on around me, and he's walking that length with me. So I wouldn't be where I am today. He's been the best thing that's ever happened to me as a manager. I've had some really good bench coaches. Luis Arrieta, who's with the with the Marlins. I've had Jerry Nairn, unbelievable baseball knowledge, and Ron Gardenhire. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, but Jeff Banister deserves to be a manager one day, once again, but he's filled in every gap for me perfectly.
Do you know when that you're from?
Hi, sorry. Just kind of curious. The other day on the radio, Mike Hazen confirmed that he agreed to an extension. You're allowed to talk about it, but I was curious what your reaction is to that.
Unbelievably well deserved. He's brought a level of stability to this organization. He has done just about everything that he's talked about. A small market team, building from within, being competitive. I know that we had a couple lean years. There's reason for that. That's all of our responsibilities. But it's very well deserved. With everything that he's walked through personally, everything that we've walked through professionally, I think that having him here and knowing he's going to be here is a really good thing for this organization.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So circling back to the stopping momentum question, you got a fully gassed bullpen and a couple of off days coming up, so you can use them as you like. The track record Merrill has here in the stadium as a consideration, as well as the fact that over 70% of game one winners go on to win the series. So with all of that you already know, are you ready to be just as aggressive as you were in game one in Milwaukee?
If I need to be, I will, of course. I will read and react accordingly. I will obviously pay attention to what's going on per inning. If there's 25 pitches per inning, as there was with Brandon Pfaadt, we're into that mid-70 pitch range after 3 innings. Yes, I will definitely be mindful. I will, once again, as I always do, even with Zach Gallen's start, I have probably 3 or 4 different game plans walking into that. And as you get a little further, you start exiting them off. And it wasn't looking great for Zach. I was probably on game plan number 3 after the first. But he walked behind me and told me we're good. So I believe in Merrill. He might get a little bit more of a look than I would normally give him somebody like Brandon Pfaadt, but I'll have to read and react accordingly.
Take one last one, David, on the right.
Torey, I wanted to ask you about Perdomo. Middle of the season, middle of the season, you had basically 2 shortstops, and now you have 1. My question is, how did Geraldo really gain your confidence as that guy, that everyday guy, even as the bat went a little south in the second part of the season?
Yeah, he has this inner confidence that you don't know unless you talk to him. And I know that you probably talked to him several times. He's a very comfortable human being inside of that body. I like that. The heartbeat never changes. He admits with the faults and limitations that he has. He continues to enhance his strengths, and that's how I knew him through player development and on into the early years of his major league career. But this year it seemed like something clicked. Something clicked offensively, and I know the second half wasn't as strong as the first, but he was a National League All-Star, so he was recognized by his peers as somebody that was gonna be able to go out there at the Midsummer Classic and represent the National League. So we weren't the only ones seeing what we saw every single day. It was consistency with the at-bats. It was controlling the zone. It was getting on base, understanding what the at-bat was asking for, and then defensively was just operating at full speed. And it wasn't just during the game. I was watching his practice reps in spring training. I was watching his practice reps in pregame when the season started. It was very consistent. And those are the work habits that I like to see. It gives me a lot of hope when I don't know that he's going to be a really good player for us, and it's translated that way. But I would say, to summarize it, sorry for the long answer, I'd say it's the human being, the heartbeat, and the ability to go out there and prepare is what makes him good.